The only two options are that he was taken out of the world or he was taken out of that prison. While I'm not saying definitively that this man is still alive, I do want to talk a little bit more about his passing that we all know was not self-inflicted. And I think when we step back and look at like the facts and circumstances surrounding the autopsy of Jeffrey, it only opens more doors for questions. For example, he was still in a neck brace in this one. The noses are completely different and the shape of the ears are completely different. I obviously don't know what happens to the human body hours after one's life leaves it, but I don't know. They're very different to me. And there are people who have put his autopsy photos compared to photos of him alive into AI analyzers to see if like they're the same person. And AI believes that the autopsy photos and the photos of Jeffrey are not the same person, but obviously AI can be faulty. This is the last photo I want to show you guys, and then we're going to get more into the people who conducted these autopsies. This photo here, his eyebrows look like they have been freshly dyed a darker color. So let's talk a little bit about the autopsy and the forensic pathology behind the case of Jeffrey and see if we can find any potential avenues of corruption. So at the time, Dr. Barbara Sampson was the chief medical examiner of the city of New York, and she served in that position from 2013 to 2021. She handled the autopsy of Joan Rivers, Eric Garner, and of course, Jeffrey. Despite the presence of 3 fractures in Jeffrey's hyoid bone in his neck, despite the rope that was allegedly used by Jeffrey not matching the ligature marks on his neck, and many other inconsistencies that we will get more into in a moment, Dr. Barbara Sampson ruled this to be self-inflicted. When someone takes their life in the manner that Jeffrey has alleged to have taken his in, it's not uncommon to see 1, maybe 2 fractures, but having 3 fractures to that bone is pretty much unheard of when the circumstances are self-inflicted. Experts also push back on Dr. Barbara Sampson's ruling of this being self-inflicted by stating the placement of the ligature mark around Jeffrey's neck did not make sense for this to be self-inflicted. It would have been a lot higher up, more under his jaw, if his body was hanging in midair. If it had been self-inflicted, the ligature mark would have been a lot higher than it was. And it's also notable that the rope that Jeffrey allegedly used to do this act had no kind of red fluid, using my words carefully here, had no kind of red fluid on it, despite the ligature marks around his neck being open wounds. Experts also push back on Dr. Barbara Sampson, stating that the vessels in his eyes had burst, which is very common in cases where a victim's air is forcibly restricted by someone else, but it's not as common when it's self-inflicted. After there was pushback to Dr. Barbara Sampson's report, the family of Jeffrey decided to hire their own forensic pathologist to conduct an independent autopsy of Jeffrey. Jeffrey's family did not believe that he would have taken his own life. Thus, Dr. Michael Baden was hired to do this independent autopsy. Now, Dr. Michael Baden was the chief medical examiner of New York City, same job that Dr. Barbara Sampson held from 2013 to 2021, but he was the chief medical examiner of New York City from 1978 to 1979, very brief. The mayor, who I believe was Ed Koch at this time, released him from his position because he felt that Dr. Baden was sloppy at records keeping. But in present day, Dr. Michael Baden has about 50 years of experience in forensic pathology under his belt, and he also served as the United States House Select Committee that focused on learning more about assassinations. And he specifically worked on JFK's case as well as Martin Luther King Jr.'s case. Outside of his work that he has done for not only the state of New York as well as the United States government, he owns his own private forensic pathology business. And so you'll see him working on cases all over the place internationally. He has specifically worked and overseen very high profile autopsies. Dr. Michael Baden oversaw the exhumation of the Romanov family in Siberia. He oversaw the Aaron Hernandez autopsy. He oversaw George Floyd's autopsy. He oversaw Kobe Bryant's autopsy, and he oversaw Michael Brown's autopsy as well. Dr. Baden has also overseen cases on an international level, overseeing cases in Israel, Gaza, the West Bank, Poland, Zimbabwe, and Mexico, just to name a few. But after re-examining the autopsy of Jeffrey, Dr. Baden concluded that his findings pointed to the fact that Jeffrey did not take his own life and someone else took his life. Dr. Baden also noted that Dr. Barbara Sampson refused to give over all of the documentation surrounding Jeffrey's case, and to this day he has never seen a photo of Jeffrey actually physically hanging in his cell. The state chose not to recognize Dr. Baden's finding and kept Dr. Barbara Sampson's cause of passing as the official report. After his second autopsy, according to Jeffrey's brother Mark, who is, by the way, not innocent in all of this, at the bare minimum had knowledge and was profiting and still continues to profit to this day from his brother's crimes. And Chris Cuomo is a journalistic fool with no integrity for saying that Mark was completely innocent in all of this on live television the other day. Mark literally owned the building where Jeffrey housed his victims. Anyways, after the second autopsy, Mark, Jeffrey's brother, says that he had Jeffrey buried at I.J. Morris Star of David Cemetery in Palm Beach, Florida, next to their parents. So technically, if we lived in a perfect world and had a government that was stacked with people who had a hunger for justice and truth, we could just exhume his body and get the answers, but I think we all know that's not an option that will be on the table. So again, there's really only two options of what could have happened to Jeffrey. He was either taken out of this world or he was taken out of that jail. According to William Barr, our attorney general at the time, this whole situation was just a perfect storm of mistakes that led to Jeffrey having the time and ability to take his own life while in the care of the state of New York. But why would I trust the man whose father gave Jeffrey a job at the Dalton School in the 70s? We talked about this before. Donald Barr, William Barr's father, gave Jeffrey a job at the Dalton School teaching math and science, despite the fact that Jeffrey had dropped out of college and did not have the education or training to teach high school math or science, before he went on to write a science fiction book about intergalactic rush houring. I wish I was kidding. Yeah, I don't trust the Barr boys as far as I can throw them. Like I've been saying for this past year, if Jeffrey's life was taken, the two people who needed him gone more than anything were the sitting president, Donald Trump, and Ghislaine Maxwell. Because remember, Ghislaine was not arrested until like a year after Jeffrey passed away. And Jeffrey knew generations of secrets about the Maxwell family that she could not let be out there. That's all I have for you guys. I'll see you in the next one.